This is how you will make your own OCI checklist, and you will ensure that everything what is required is here before you send your application, and make sure that your application goes through. And after watching this video, you will surely do that. When you're applying for OCI, one aspect is crucial is uploading of the document, sending the photocopy of document. And here the scenarios might not be one size fits all, because there could be scenarios based on which you will have to look at what documents actually you have to send. And that's where a lot of frustration people have. And what I'm trying to do is to help you understand with logic what is going in the application, and based on that, depending on your circumstances, what document you might have to submit. So you will be able to make a checklist and then validate with the service provider before sending the document. That way you avoid making mistake, you avoid getting into any situation where you have to pay anything extra out of your pocket when you go and visit the service provider. Firstly, we have to understand that when you are filling the application, what we are trying to do is to give a proof of our Indian origin. It could be based on your own documents, your parents' document, or with your grandparents' document. If it is a foreign spouse, in that case, the spouse detail also which will get included. You will also have to show your legal status in the foreign country. Even though you would have got citizenship, you will have to tell them you were legally here. Then you are confirming your identity and personal history with regard to your birth certificate, marriage, and the name consistency. Same is the case with the minor, where the parents will have to show that they were legally here in this country. And for example, sometimes parents are here on visitor visa and baby is born. That is a legal status. You were visiting, and during that the birth has happened. It could be PR, it could be green card. So those scenarios will get checked here. Then there are mandatory declaration now, where you have to confirm that your voter ID and ration card has been cancelled, which is a requirement now. And in case of minor, the parents will have to give that document in case parent citizenship has changed. If the citizenship has not changed, still the declaration will go with a note that this is not applicable. So you start building those logic. Some of the common things which have to be kept in mind is that sign all copies, whichever is going to go as photocopy, as certified true copy. So attestation is nothing but here you sign it as certified true copy. Then the application pages, you send all the pages. The government of India has no issues with this, but when you go to the service provider, they will insist. And if you don't have all 7 pages, because the only first 4 pages are application, the last 3 pages have just instruction, you will end up paying additional money for those 3 pages. So just print all the pages of the application. This way you don't pay anything extra to the service provider. Then never send a original passport. If you are doing a in-person submission, you carry all the document in original. You show it to the service provider and then get back all the document then and there. You don't hand over your passport, you don't hand over your cancelled passport, you get everything back. If you're sending it by postal, in that case, the service provider will tell you to only send the photocopies. You don't send your foreign passport, you don't send your surrendered passport, that is India passport. Make sure to keep this in mind. You only carry in person to show it to the service provider and get it back immediately. And if you are sending it by postal, only photocopies to be sent, no original passport to be sent. If you send it, forget it. If there is any name variation, then you will have to submit legal name change document upfront, and this will avoid delays. Certain scenarios, which I'll talk about in detail when we go to the name section, you will see how you can do the submission without any legal change document to be submitted. Go to the service provider's website depending on your geography, country, and make sure you check on the fee and form, and also speak to them so that you are not in for any surprise. When it is minor application, the parents' document will also go along with, and once you go through the video, you will understand what all documents you will have to arrange, and based on your certain scenario, you will have a checklist. Once you have made that, you speak to the service provider, you complete the application and you submit. you will have no issue at all getting your OCI card. I'm repeating this part again. When it comes to application, print all pages once it is complete, even the instruction page, so that you don't end up paying anything to the service provider for those additional pages. Those are instruction page, and you might think it doesn't make logic to take a printout. Take it, otherwise you'll end up paying much more than what you would have done with the initial printout. Also, the printout, you keep it as black and white. You don't require a color printout. Black and white is very much accepted because you have already submitted the application online. You're just sending this as a supporting document. You will be uploading the photo as per specification, which I have made in the video in detail, how you can ensure the specification matches. And the photo, one question comes is, after taking a printout of the application, should I paste the photo on the application? You don't have to do. The application is digitally gone and all you're doing is sending this photo separately. Just make sure to either clip it or secure in an envelope, and just follow the official guideline for the background. And if you have watched my video, you will know exactly how to make sure that it is foolproof and you will not pay anything extra to the service provider. Now, let's look at the passport copies. The information what will go as name and other details will be straight out of your passport. So here you will print all the pages which has information. In Canada, it is only there on one page. So I had uploaded just one page. If your country has more than one page, then you will have to upload both copies, and the photocopy will go as a certified true copy. By default, all document which you are sending as a photocopy will have to be self-attested. Now coming to the cancel Indian passport, this will show that you have renounced your Indian citizenship, and then the surrender certificate will prove that you have officially given up the Indian citizenship and you have done with the surrendering of passport. By now you know, if you were never an Indian citizen, in that case you will not have cancel India passport and surrender certificate. That's where you will have to establish a relationship of parent and grandparent, which we will go further in detail as we proceed with the video. This is also applicable for minor who is born in foreign country. If there has been any name change, then you will have to attach a legal name change document. That becomes mandatory. In case of slight variation, I'll talk about that, what those variations are as we proceed with the video. Otherwise, you have to have a legal name change document, without which the application will not go through. Proof of legal status in country. This is important because government wants to know whether you, your parent, whoever had come to this country and acquired the citizenship, how that was done. So what does legal status mean? You came on student visa and then you went through the process of work permit and then permanent residency or green card and then citizenship. That is a legal process where you went through the process. So I covered about student, work permit, PR or green card, and then the citizenship. Then in some cases, parents, they are visiting the country and then baby is born. That is also a legal status. You had legally come to explore the places and the baby is born. So that is one. And that's how these legal status will get established. Now, if the person had come through any illegal means, I'm not going to name what that illegal mean is. In that case, you know that the OCI will not be given. In case of minor, where parents already have an OCI, they have established these facts when they were going through the OCI application, when they were submitting their OCI application. In that case, they don't have to again give all this document. Their OCI card copy will hold good. In case one of the parent is OCI and the other parent is not, in that case, the other parent's document has to go so that all the information is there with the application processing authority. Why not just one parent detail? Why both parents detail? There are certain restricted countries. There are 2 countries in specific where OCI is a challenge. And that's where when both parents detail goes, the authority gets to know details about the parents. When it comes to the birth certificate, here I'm showing minor applicant. Even for adult, right? Sometimes the birth certificate might be shown in the application details. Now, the adult, whether the adult was born in India or elsewhere, the birth detail would already be there in the passport. If it is an Indian passport, That Indian passport has birth detail, address, parents' name, everything mentioned there. So that gets covered in terms of what is needed. And for minor, this birth certificate is required if the minor is born outside of India. If the minor was born in India, the India passport would already have the detail, and the same document can go in the birth certificate section. Both parents' passport copies, this I already talked about. So if minor was born abroad, in that case, show both parents India passport if parents are still Indian. In that case, India passport. If parents are not Indian, they cancel passport and their foreign passport and all other status document what I talked about earlier. So you make a checklist of those document what is required. Then comes the no objection letter, which will go for the minor applicants. Here, parents will have to sign the application with the no objection, and where the applicant signature is required. In case of minor girl, remember, girl is always right and boy is always left. I made a detailed video where you can go and check that detail. So the thumb impression has to be in this format, and that will take care. Some of the documents would be required for minor. That is, in case parents are divorced, in that case, the divorce document will have to go to show that the parent who is applying for OCI has a legal custody, and you don't have to share 50-page document. You can only share the relevant extract where those orders are. And in case one of the parent has died, in that case, parents' death certificate will go. So make sure that both parents' detail go when you do the application. If it is you, not the minor, even in that case, you will have to submit these documents where it is relevant for your case. So you can make that checklist and make sure you are submitting these documents. This mandatory declaration form is important if you were Indian or minor's parents were Indian. In that case, you have to give this declaration that voter ID and ration card is no longer with you. The declaration is must. And if you are still Indian, you can just write on the declaration form that this is not applicable since you are still Indian. So that way you don't give any room for the service provider to assume that you have not given the document. Proof of address, whatever document you are submitting, be it driver license, utility bill, lease agreement. Now, a lot of people have questioned that drop down does not show driver's license. This is acceptable document, absolutely acceptable. You just need to upload one proof of address, and whatever you are uploading, how the address is mentioned in that document, same address you will exactly write on the application. No variation. Don't make your own address, exactly as it is given in the document. Now, in case the document has any abbreviation, for example, Ontario has ON. If you write Ontario completely, it is acceptable. No service provider can challenge that. So, driver license, utility bill, lease agreement, these are valid documents. If you have phone bill, bank statement, that is not accepted. And for minor, one of the parent will have to submit their address proof. Just one parent will do. If it is driver license, you could just upload that. When it comes to marriage or spouse document, where it is applicable, if you are unmarried, this will not be required for you. If you are divorcee, then your documentation will be slightly different. In case the partner is no more, in that case, I talked about the document, what is required. So when it comes to marriage certificate, the spouse name, if it is there on the Indian passport, the website says you need not submit the marriage certificate again. But there have been instances when individuals have gone to submit the document at service provider location and they have been surprised with asking this document. So just take a copy of it and carry this in original. This way you don't pay anything extra to the service provider. And if you had a foreign marriage, in that case it has to be translated. If required, it has to be apostilled. So do check out what those requirements are. And in case you don't have a marriage certificate, there have been 1 or 2 test cases where at the time they got married, marriage certificate was not mandatory because it was pre-2000 era, and they wrote to the consulate, they got the approval and they attached with the application to apply for OCI, and this way the service provider had no issue taking the application. In case it is post-2000, mandatory marriage certificate is required. In that case, you will have to ask what and how to initiate. You have to get that before you can apply for the OCI. In Canada, common law status is recognized when two people who are not legally married live together in a conjugal relationship for continuous period. And in such scenario, even if you're not married and you show as single, you will still have to show the other partner's detail. So check with the service provider what documents are required, and again you'll have to submit what documents are required, because the authorities would like to know the background of the biological parent. If it is for foreign spouse, then you'll have to wait for 2 years after marriage before you can apply. I made a separate video in detail, and here the spouse of Indian origin, that detail has to be submitted by the spouse, and all the documents what is required will have to be submitted, what we talked so far. This is for parents Indian origin document for adult who are applying based on parents. For minor, we already talked about in case of minor parents status, if they are still Indian, their Indian passport copy goes. If the status has changed, in that case, their whatever the new status is, that document goes. And if they are on work permit, that passport and the visa copy goes. All those things we talked about. Now here, for adults, parents Indian passport, that will be required if parents are still Indian. In case parent status has changed, in that case, parents India passport and the surrender certificate, that will be required. So make a checklist, and that's how it will prove that they were Indian citizen. And if parents already have an OCI, it becomes easier. You just submit copy of the OCI. Same thing goes for the grandparents. In that case, grandparents document will have to be submitted. Now, grandparent is no more. In that case, you will have to first write to the consulate and seek the permission. Only if you get the permission, you will be able to go ahead with the next process of OCI application. So do check that out with the service provider. Don't rely on my information. Check this part with the service provider. Here, the onus will be on you to prove with documents your relationship, and then you'll have to wait for the confirmation from the consulate before you can proceed with the application. If parents have OCI, then there is no issue. If parents don't have OCI, in that case, you may have to give this document to prove that they entered legally and they were not SLM seeker. Parents' passport, if applicable, that can also go in and attach this part. Also, the service provider will not be able to upsell if you show the complete trail. For adults, the professional detail also gets entered in the OCI, and this could be your employment letter in case you're working. That will, go with the document, which you can also upload. And if you're self-employed, in that case, you'll have to provide the proof. So you'll have to declare your profession, because there are certain restrictions with certain profession, which you will get to know when you're filling the application. And when you're getting any employment letter, get that on company letterhead. If you're not able to get that on company letterhead, you could use your offer letter and give a self-declaration. Now, make sure along with the offer letter, you add pay stub and all those stuff. I don't have to tell, when you are doing immigration, you would have submitted a lot of documents to the country where you are currently. Similarly, you will have to submit the document. And if you are self-employed, you'll have to submit company registration detail, tax document, invoices, etc. If you are unemployed or a housewife, then just declare it. You can update that later. Only thing is, the OCI card will not get updated, but that updated information will be available to the authority when they check the updated information. I made a separate video on how you can update those details, and that should take care. When it comes to the minor, this is not required, but still check with the service provider. In some cases, they might insist parents' employment, which I don't find any logic to. When it comes to the payment, geography to geography, it could be slightly different. For example, in US, if you are doing this process, you go through service provider called VFS, where they will show you the online process where you go and do the payment part. In Canada, you have to get a demand draft in name of the Consulate General of India or High Commission, depending on your geography. So always visit the service provider website where the fee detail will be mentioned, and service provider service fee will also be mentioned. For example, in Canada, the service provider is given $1.70 for the service. Now, the service provider can also offer you service like pick up and drop service, which is not mandatory. It is up to you, and in most cases, you will not realize that you have an option to say no and do a walk-in. You might get an idea that walk-in is difficult, but once you speak to few people here and there who have done recently, you will get to know what time you need to go and get those things done, and you might save money there. Again, whatever you're paying, make a checklist and ask what specific charges are, and you also ask for the detailed breakdown so that you're not in for a surprise where you see, okay, you have been charged for a digital photo which you have already uploaded and you don't need to, and you are charged for something else. So do ask for a detailed breakdown. The draft which goes to government is straightforward, and so do always check that part. Once you've made the checklist and once you know that, okay, these are the documents which might be required from you, you have validated with the service provider, and you have noted down the name of the person to whom you have spoken, time and date, you have everything ready for to submit this application, and you will have peace of mind.